So, the other day I saw this meme, and while it's very clearly bait, I bit the bait, and now I'm making this video. Frankly, it just gave me a good excuse to talk about two characters that I love in a single video. And at first, this video was just gonna be debunking the meme, but I realized that the video pissed me off, not only due to its representation, or rather misrepresentation of Eren, but the meme's own representation of Gon. I mean, trying to imply that he changed in the Chimera Ant arc in the same fashion that Eren supposedly changed post time skip. But, well, what if I told you that neither of them changed? Now, before you click off the video and call me crazy, hear me out. The point of the video will be to prove my thesis statement that Gon and Eren did not change as people throughout their stories. I'm gonna leave timestamps for both Gon's and Eren's part, and the conclusion, since a few people only read one series but not the other. Now, a spoiler warning for the Hunter x Hunter anime and the Attack on Titan manga. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. I will be starting the video off with Gon since most of his content has been covered in the anime, but for him there will be some extremely light, almost negligible manga spoilers, which you won't even notice if I don't tell you. I would also like to shout out and give a huge recommendation to the video by Alexander, I hope I said his name correctly, who did a masterful video on the morality of Gon freaks, which frankly is what opened my eyes to a lot of the nuances in Gon's character when I watched that video first time like about 6 months ago. So, to claim that Gon has changed as a person and to refute that claim, we need textual evidence explaining who Gon is as a person. We can boil down two of his major character aspects into two personality traits, which would be curiosity and care for his loved ones. Curiosity is shown with how Gon literally sets out to become a hunter and find Jing, not because he's in search of any paternal figure, but because he was curious about what it was about being a hunter that was so important that someone would rather abandon their family to go and do. Gon flat out states that it didn't even cross his mind that he should stay with Jing because he was his dad. But curiosity is also specifically outlined to be the driving force behind Gon when Zepile makes an observation of him, saying that Gon is blatantly unconcerned with whether something is good or bad, you're gonna see where I'm going with this, but rather satisfying his own curiosity. The second trait that Gon displays is a deep care for those he loves, which I don't believe requires much justification for anyone that has watched the series. Gon loves his friends and always looks out for them as much as he can. Now, why do people say Gon changed? Well, in the Chimera Ant arc, Gon shows an incredible amount of darkness and ruthlessness, which were sides of him that frankly we'd never truly seen displayed in the series. So, does that mean he changed? Well, no, I don't believe so. And here are a few reasons as to why not. The brunt of Gon's rage was during his interactions with Pito, which were much briefer than what people care to notice. The palace invasion of the Chimera Ant arc, despite being incredibly long in both the anime and the manga, lasted for less than a night, with the whole ordeal being done before morning of the same night began. Gon was only acting enraged for about 1 to 2 hours, give or take. This is tantamount to someone being angry for a few hours and you saying that they completely changed as a person. Especially taking into account that this was Gon's first time experiencing the death of someone close to him, Kite. It's logical that he'd be enraged at the murderer who caused him so much pain, and it would be completely out of character for Gon to just be unaffected emotionally, since he has been established to have a deep care for all his friends from as early as episode 1.
But he was willing to kill Kamugi, who's completely innocent.
I hear you say. Well, okay, but how is that him changing who he is as a person? Gon might have said that he was against the killing of innocents to Nobunaga and Chrollo in the York New arc, but he's a hypocrite whose actions directly contradict his words. Gon's best friend Killua, someone who has killed countless people in his life and still murders innocents pretty casually even after meeting Gon, that doesn't faze him, because he likes Killua and he simply makes excuses for him. He's okay with the idea of Bisky murdering Binotes if he doesn't agree to train them. He's okay with sparring Binotes and even bowing to him in appreciation, Binote being a serial killer and a cannibal, simply because Binote helped them grow, and Gon does not look down on Razor because he had information on Jing and helped him grow, Razor being yet another killer, and so forth. Gon himself has both attempted to and actually killed two Chimera entities that are very clearly sentient life forms, being capable of thought and having relationships. He batted no eyes towards that. And before you say, oh, they're animals, they're not people, Gon has displayed since chapter 1 of the manga that he has an incredibly big bond with animals, having an animal be one of his best friends his entire childhood. So that does not count as an argument saying he doesn't care about animals. What Gon is against isn't murder. Gon is against anything that is noxious to him or his friends. Killing Komugi or holding her hostage as a means to get Pito to save Kite is perfectly in line with his previous actions, since it serves to protect someone he cares for, regardless of the cost or if it's good or bad. This actually falls in line pretty well with a line that Gon quoted from Mito in the second chapter of the manga, which he says, "If you want to know a person, find out what makes him angry." In Gon's case, it was having his friends be harmed that made him drop his hypocrisy of preserving the lives of innocents. With all that in mind, we also need to look at Gon's behavior post Chimera Antarc to see if he truly had any change. And unfortunately, due to Togashi's less than optimal release schedule for Hunter x Hunter, we don't have too much content to work with. But based on the few scenes we have of Gon, it's clear that until now, no lasting change has remained of his character. He's still the same Gon he was before and during the arc. This goes to reinforce that he never went through change, he was only suffering grief, and his emotions manifested negatively in that period, akin to a child throwing a temper tantrum that lasted for a few hours. Now that we covered why I don't believe that Gon has changed, let's move onward to Eren. Now we will go through the same treatment we gave Gon, but with Eren. We can easily boil down Eren as well to two aspects of his personality, which are freedom and care for his loved ones, like Gon. His strong desire for freedom has been displayed throughout the entire series. He hates the idea of feeling like he is caged within walls, and he wants to see the outside world. He, unlike Gon, is much more verbal about his desires, talking about freedom multiple times in the series, so this point doesn't need to be hammered down on too much like Gon's. Here's a few scans of Eren talking about freedom. Pause the video if you want to read them all. As for the care of his loved ones, it's not as obvious as it was with Gon, but Eren does flat out state that his friends are the most important thing in the world to him, and that's why he refuses to let them inherit his Titan. He wants them to live long and happy lives. Eren also goes crazy when the idea of losing Armin appears to be a reality, attacking Levi to prevent it. And, according to the official Attack on Titan guidebook, it states that Eren has a hard time displaying kindness due to his shyness, which is backed up by him blushing in one of the few vocal moments of affection he has with his friends in the series. Despite being an awkward hothead, Eren would do anything to protect his loved ones. So, why is it that people claim that Eren changed? Well, mostly it's because of the demeanor that Eren has displayed post-time skip. Which, before even starting, we have to remember that for the most part, Eren was pretending to be aligned with Zeke. So, we cannot take the stuff that he says after his conversation with Reiner at face value, since he made lies as outrageous as hating Mikasa to get his plan going. Though, once he is in the paths dimension with Zeke, we see the true Eren again. But even so, you might say,
Eren still said he hated Reiner before, and he would want to make sure he had the most agonizing death possible. But when they met again, he told him to forget about that. Doesn't that mean he changed?
But you have to remember that Eren hates those who will take his freedom away and or the freedom of his loved ones. So, at the time he said the things to Reiner, he believed Reiner and Bertolt to be solely at fault for taking his freedom away and the life of his mother. After discovering the truth about Marley and realizing they were just as much of victims as he was, he turned his anger at the world that forced him into doing these horrible things. Which is why his plan to enact the rumbling still falls perfectly in line with how he's always been. It's a plan to simultaneously protect everyone Eren loves and cherishes while killing anyone that would take his freedom away. Now, I will concede that to some degree Eren did change, but not his core self. Rather, he matured. Eren naturally had to grow up in those 4 years, and while I agree that he has a much more cool-headed demeanor, that is him just maturing without changing as a person. That might sound confusing, so let me give you an example of someone who has both matured and changed as a person, so you guys can see the difference. Reiner. Reiner as a child wanted glory, and wanted to be a hero of Marley, destroying all the island devils. He obviously aged as the years passed within the walls and started acting more mature, as anyone who goes from the age of around 9 or 8 when they invaded the wall to 14 or 15 would change. But he was remaining the same way he was as a child, wanting glory for when he returned. This shows a maturing without changing as a person, which is similar to what Eren did. But then, after the time skip from returning to Marley, we see that Reiner also, this second time, matured and changed. He is acting more like an adult now, but he also changed the way he views life. He became disillusioned with the delusions of being a hero that he started having since he was a child, and feeling guilty for being a mass murderer. He stopped believing the propaganda that was instilled in him, and that caused him a long-term change as a person, along with the demeanor that came of being an adult. Now, here we see the difference between someone who had just matured to someone who had changed and matured, which is why I argue that Eren only matured and did not change as a person in any core degree. Finally, if you're still unconvinced about Eren never changing, it is stated once by himself while he is watching his younger self that he's always been this way, and another time by Mikasa when she was reminiscent about him. Two pretty clear intentional cases showing the point that Eren never changed, which leads me to believe that this was the intention of the author when writing the second part of Attack on Titan. Now, as far as showing how Eren acts after his grief is done to prove my point as conclusively as I did with Gon, I can't. Eren's story isn't finished yet, but I didn't want to wait until Attack on Titan was over in order to drop a video like this, because it felt like a spur-in-the-moment thing. So, if events later in the story prove me wrong, in the next probably 5 to 6 chapters before the manga end, then I will gladly admit it. Feel free to come back here and flame me in the comments. Don't flame me, be respectful. In conclusion, I believe Gon and Eren to be two amazingly written protagonists that are a bit misunderstood by their fandoms. People forget to take some details and context into account, causing them to assume they both fundamentally changed as people at points in their story, which I find to not be true. This all, of course, is just my personal opinion based on my reads of both Attack on Titan and Hunter x Hunter. So, if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. Leave a comment as to why you think so and we can have a discussion. Anyways guys, that about wraps it up for the video. Please make sure to drop a like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell button. It really helps me out when growing the page. See you all next time. Fiction Ape out the gate.
When I look at you